And welcome back to coverage here of the new Capenna Championship. Marcel Sutcliffe with Paul Cheon. Paul, we started off with two league players in our opening round here, and now we're going to transfer over to two challengers. We've got Greg Orange versus Simon Nielsen lined up in the opening round here, and this has huge implications for these players' chance at a world championship slot. Every match that they play is a step closer as challengers. Right now, Greg Orange is tied for number one with 60 points in that challenger race, but Simon is third behind Greg and Camilo Lukasz, who he's tied with. He's actually tied with Camilo Lukasz as well. And so these two, they have a lot to play for, primarily because as a challenger, you're not guaranteed to play in the tournament. Like, they had to qualify for this. And these two players being here lets them set themselves apart from the challengers who did not qualify for the tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. Currently, as it stands, we have 4 players in the top 8 of the challenger leaderboard that are not playing this event. So you're going to see those people. Those people are going to be spectators at this event. They're going to be crossing their fingers and hope that their place is going to be good enough. Now, the one person that has the best shot there is Camilo Lukasz. Camilo Lukasz is at the top of that leaderboard in terms of players who are not qualified. Currently, as it stands, Simon Nielsen is right behind him. So if Simon wins this match, that's a big step for him, because that allows him to pass Camilo Lukasz, and he can know that there is no chance that Camilo can pass him at this event.
Giada, Font of Hope, perhaps the linchpin for this entire deck here from Greg. A really awesome card, lets you attack and power out angels, and it pumps them up. You see Legion Angel hitting the battlefield and one going into hand. Wedding announcement from Simon Nielsen, though, on his turn 3 into Tenacious Underdog and another Tenacious Underdog. So things developing here for Simon, perhaps a little bit slowly, but next turn he's going to have a lot of power.
I mean, but he just has no way to deal with these flyers.
It's just
right?
too late.
And this is the power of the new card Giada. I mean, if it's unchecked and you just get to cast angels, if you don't find removal spells, you're in a lot of trouble.
That's right. Not only applying, I mean, look at this. This is off of 3 lands.
Yeah.
He has 13 power in the air.
And
like, what is happening right now?
Yeah, this is the power of the Angels deck. And when the format, at the beginning of the format, Esper Angels was one of the most popular decks in the format, just because it was a highly synergistic deck. And if you're playing against decks with not a lot of interaction, not a lot of removal, you're basically going to win every single creature combat. However, as the format has kind of evolved, and people are also playing more copies of Ray of Enfeeblement to deal with Rafine, all of a sudden you've gotten to see a lot less people choose to play the Angels deck. But look, if you want a proactive strategy and your opponents aren't ready or don't have the proper answers, I mean, no creature deck can really stand up to what this Angels deck can do.
That's right. We're going to see Wandering Emperor come in and take out a Legion Angel just to keep Simon Nielsen alive. Even with this sequence, it's going to be 4 life for Simon Nielsen. He's still facing down. He will be facing down at least 2 lethal threats here by the time it's back over. Greg does have an interesting decision on if he'd like to cast Inspiring Overseer, maybe to try to hit a land drop, still gets him a nice threat in the air, or just go for the Legion Angel, which would be a lethal threat on its own. That has to be tempting here for Greg.
Yeah, I think the biggest card that Greg is probably concerned about is potentially a Meathook Massacre, right? If there's a Meathook Massacre, you do want to play this Legion Angel because it will be out of reach. I believe the Legion Angel will become a 6/5.
You're right.
And if Simon lays out a land, you can play a Meathook Massacre for 4, right? So if Simon Nielsen has a spot removal spell here, he'll still be 2 points shy of a lethal attack. You see the Wandering Emperor in play along with 10 points of power on the battlefield. So if you see a Vanishing Verse, you're still fine, you're still alive, and you still are representing lethal next turn.
Yeah, it's interesting because that's exactly what Simon didn't want to see. He'd much prefer Greg to take a more middle ground approach here and give himself a chance at top decking something. As it stands, Simon didn't draw anything anyway, so this is just going to be a kind of a desperation attack here for Simon. He's going to send in all of his creatures. Legion Angel's going to block the 3/3 token. That'll play around Wandering Emperor, I suppose. No, that doesn't do that. I'm not sure what the outs are here for Simon. I think he's just going through the motions.
I think he's just, no matter what Greg does, block or no block, he's going to win this game because Simon is looking at a handful of lands.
That's right. And we're going to see the concession there from Simon Nielsen as a quick win here for Greg Orange. And boy, Paul, I have to say it really shows off the raw power that this deck can do. That was 3 lands, 6 spells still in hand for Greg Orange. He really didn't even get to do much that game, and he won it easily.
Yeah, yeah. And also, of course, drawing Legion Angel. I know this version is actually going for the 2-2 split. I know if you speak to the vocal Magic community, there's lots of arguments about what the optimal configuration of Angels is in your deck, but 2-2 does seem to make a lot of sense, particularly in this Angels deck. And of course, drawing it means if you're playing a mid-range matchup, it's really hard to grind through the Angels. And again, from the Esper side, if you don't draw your removal spells, I mean, the Angels deck is just going to come out on top. Now, after sideboard, I mean, we're looking at a completely different matchup, right? We're looking at 3 copies of Brave Enfeeblement to go along with the Infernal Grasps and a Vanishing Verses. So lots of ways to kind of break apart what Greg Orange is trying to put together.
Yeah, you mentioned the Ray of Enfeeblement in our opening match, and we're going to see it here from both players coming in. This is going to be one of the key sideboard cards across the board over the course of the tournament. Some people play it in the main deck, as we saw Kai had one, but definitely if you have access to black mana, you'd like to have this in your sideboard. You mentioned Rafine Scheming Seer as kind of one of the keys, but it just has so many good targets. Basically Greg's entire deck, for example, is susceptible to it.
Yeah.
I mean, it kills Righteous Valkyrie. It kills, right, any of the smaller angels like Giada, Inspiring Overseer, Youthful Valkyrie. Like, it just mows all of those things down, and it can even trade up significantly for like a Legion Angel or something. That's a lot of mana disparity.
Yeah, Lisa is actually a creature that's extremely well statted for the matchup, right? Because we're looking at removal spells that include Ray of Enfeeblement and Vanishing Verse, and it does a good job of not dying to either, right? So the only thing Greg needs to be really concerned about, or at least try to play around, would be, of course, the Wandering Emperors that Simon Nielsen has in his deck.
Okay, game number 2 underway. Let's see if Simon can put up more of a fight here. That draw from Greg was just brutal. Really no chill at all from Greg Orange. Of course, if you've been watching Magic coverage for a while, Greg is more partial to control decks when given the chance. But over the last few tournaments, we've seen him make some other choices. Looks like he's branching out a little bit and picking up a 2-color, we'll call it an aggro mid-range deck here is definitely.
It looks like Greg, to be fair, control just hasn't really been the winning strategy as of late in Magic. So Greg, it looks like he's choosing the path of winning.
The winning path.
The winning path. Yeah, it's a good path to take. So as a control player at heart myself, it is difficult. It is hard for me to kind of admit that, but control just hasn't been kind of where you want to be a lot of the time in kind of recent Magic.
Giada sticks on the battlefield this turn because Simon decided that instead of getting rid of it, he's going to leverage those Infernal Grasps later, be mana efficient, and get Wedding Announcement down right now. And it looks like that's going to pay off because Greg is going to respond with Vanishing Verse, and he's got to choose between Tenacious Underdog or the announcement itself.
Looks like he wants to get the Underdog off the battlefield and then can run out here a 2/4 Youthful Valkyrie. Simon could choose to just double grasp here, and then make a 1/1 here. But then anything big that Greg Orange plays on the following turn won't have an immediate answer to. Could potentially try to go for an attack and utilize the Aiganjo to get the Youthful Valkyrie off the battlefield.
Yeah, you see Simon taking a more mid-range approach here, I guess we'll call it. Here's Fury's Retribution, though, for Greg Orange.
Oh, so this is going to be good. Greg's going to attack, most likely, and if he does, Simon's going to take it, Infernal Grasp the 4/4, and then cast Wandering Emperor to get Youthful Valkyrie off the battlefield. Then Greg Orange is going to have nothing in play, and he's going to be facing an army of two 2/2 Wedding Announcements. Simon, of course, has the choice, right? You can choose to just attack with 1 or 2 creatures, and then you'll get a different mode here off that Wedding Announcement.
That's right. So he's going to make a decision on what he'd like. In the meantime, though, that 1/2 punch that you just mentioned, Paul, has come to fruition. We see Wandering Emperor take out the last creature, and it is going to be both creatures in. Get that card out of the deal. Lolth Spider Queen was the draw as well, so that paid off very nicely here for Simon. And there's Lisa off the top, though. Forgotten Archangel.
Great draw.
Hits the battlefield here, too. So, wow, heavy hitters coming out for our players now, Paul.
Yeah. And now, I mean, Simon doesn't have an attack here. Oh, excuse me, he does have an attack. Right, Iganjo. This 3/3 has first strike, right? Could have attacked with the other 2/2 as well, but maybe that gives it away. So by attacking with just the 3/3 here, it's like, all right, do you want to block?
And the answer is, yeah, I'll pass this time. Thanks, I'll keep Lisa on the battlefield. This is a potential setup really awesome here for Greg Orange if he can get this Inspiring Overseer down. If it dies, it comes back. He can start looping. But in the meantime, Simon Nielsen's building up quite a board state here. There's Lolth Spider Queen creating the 2/3/2 Menace and Reach.
I know. I was looking to see if Elspeth gave Trample. It does not. But you can give it Vigilance, so that's going to be huge. We're talking about 10 damage here. This is going to swing the race as well. I mean, This is an attack for tag. Greg's going to go up to potentially 22. Simon likely going to put a spider in front of the Lisa here.
Yeah, Greg's making a decision here on whether to attack Simon or Lolth, it looks like, but it's probably not relevant. Although, Simon is looking at, okay, now hold on a minute. Can I actually take this here? It feels like no. You certainly could. You'd be at 3, but if you draw a removal spell, remove Lisa from the battlefield, how important is it to have an additional spider? Well, you have Elspeth Resplendent on 6. It actually could be pretty important here.
Yeah. And keep in mind, of course, a double block does not work on the Lisa as it does have double strike.
Yeah.
As Chapter 3 did go off there on the Retribution.
That's right. The spiders would get squashed if that were the case. So Simon with a tough decision on whether to sacrifice a spider here effectively.
Or take 10.
Yeah, but it also would limit the life gain from Greg, right? The first strike damage would kill the spider. That gains 5, but then the double strike damage kind of disappears here.
This makes a lot of sense.
That would keep Greg at 17 rather than 22. He's going to pass a turn. Ooh, there's Rafine. Unfortunately for Simon, there's at least a Forgotten Angel still there thanks to Vigilance. It's just like,
I mean, it's possible, right? With the Wandering Emperor and the Rafine, you could get in for some damage here, potentially.
Simon's going to see what's up at the top of the library there. Perhaps another reason to keep your life total high. You are planning on using Lolth going forward here. Lots of considerations in these mid-range matchups. Greg's deck bends toward the aggressive, but, we wouldn't classify it as kind of a classic aggro deck. All right, here comes Rafine Scheming Seer on the battlefield after Wandering Emperor put another counter on one of those tokens. And it looks like 2 creatures are going to be attacking the Elspeth, and then one of them is going to get sent in at Greg. That one's going to be the recipient of any gifts that Rafine has to give here.
Right, and if Simon chooses to keep Iganjo plus Ray, given that he has a legendary creature in play, you could Ray the Lisa and then Iganjo to just kill it.
Wow. And this is also worth noting here that he gets to discard 3 spells here. So that's going to mean that token is now a 6/6 and also has a clean attack. Can't block the spider. It has Menace, but could block the 3/3.
And Greg at this point is probably aware of Iganjo. But you also have to think Simon just discarded 3 completely bananas spells. So you have to kind of assume that he's got he's got the goods here. So
Definitely.
So I mean, it's a really really tough situation here. I mean, you have to at least expect an Iganjo, just given how the previous attack went. Obviously, not going to put your creature in front of the 6/6 here. Can't block the 3/2 as it has menace. So Greg has a tough choice here. Does he want to put the Lisa in front of this 3/3 token? If he does, he will lose his Lisa.
Man, I can't imagine what it's like to be in Greg's seat and see what Simon just discarded to those Rafine triggers. Like, you have to be going,
You pitched
what
Lisa?
do you
What's
have
wrong with
left?
you?
Yeah, what do you have left over? But Simon has decided that the time to press is here and now, and he wants the cards that are going to keep the advantage that he has on the board. You know, he's looking over at Greg and saying, "What are you going to do? Like, sweep my board? Probably not." So here comes the sequence.
Didn't even, excuse me, yes, didn't even need to use the ray, of course.
It had first strike.
It had first strike, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So now Greg's gonna do some digging here with Elspeth. The minus ability.
This is gonna cash in Elspeth, by the way,
May your peace.
for a youthful Valkyrie.
And I don't know if that's gonna be enough here. It does have a shield counter.
Right, okay.
But I mean, I think Simon's board is just far too overwhelming here. We're looking at 2 planeswalkers, a flipped wedding announcement, and a bigger board.
Right. Way too much. Simon Nielsen correctly realizing that he needed to put maximum pressure on, discarded a lot of cards that could be good later. By the way, Ray of Enfeeblement also gets around shield counters. So very, very tough spot here for Greg Orange. It looks like Simon, having really kind of done the full court press on that last turn, is going to pay off for him. He's going to wake up the Hive of the Eye Tyrant and get in for a massive attack here as well. Is it lethal, actually? 4, 7, 10, 12. It is.
Yeah, Greg does have an Iganjo here.
Yeah, that can keep him alive for a turn, but it's a stem the bleeding type thing.
Right. Yeah, I mean, this one's done for.
And Greg's not even going to bother. So there we go. Game number 2 going to Simon Nielsen. The post-board game working out nicely for him there. Man, once he went over the top there, you know, after you described his board state, it was like, wow, it was 2-4 versus like 4 creatures and 2 planeswalkers. Like, pretty tough there for Greg.
Yeah, it's tough to kind of try to play a strategy where you're trying to grind out what the Esper mid-range deck's doing, just because it typically does play more planeswalkers, and it's just so good at generating value over time. And I also feel like this matchup is probably one of the reasons why you're seeing less Angels being played, just because I think just the way that the removal spells lines up, your Vanishing versus your Grasp, your Raise, just all kill those Angels, just gets them off the battlefield. And so it's really hard for you to stick something. And then I think the late game of the Esper deck is just superior to what the Angels deck is trying to do.
Yeah, by a lot. Yeah, I would be not excited about playing sideboarded games with Greg's deck for sure. I mean, we saw what happened in game 1, right? Like, he played Giada on turn 2 and just that thing just powered out Angels for the next 3 turns and the game was over. But imagine if that card had gotten killed on turn 1. That game would have been a landslide for Simon, because remember, Greg never hit his 4th land drop.
Yeah, and here's the turn 2 Giada.
And it's going to be gone, right? Like, there's a Vanishing Verse. In fact, another one off the top of the library here.
Very reactive hand here.
Source. Yeah.
For Simon.
And that doesn't make Giada a bad card, right? It still must be answered, right? But at the same time, if it does get answered, your deck looks a lot slower.
Yeah. Now, Greg's hand is fantastic, right? Giada into Overseer, into Retribution is kind of the ideal start. Oh, excuse me, into Elspeth. So, a lot of stuff, a lot of threats that Simon is going to have to answer here.
That's right. Being on the play big here for Greg Orange, as he's sort of begging Simon Nielsen to break serve here. He's like, you got to break up what I'm doing, and it's a lot. You know, it's going to play out similar to Planeswalker, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of how it's going to feel if you're sitting in Simon's seat. He's going to have to take out this Angel first, which does do some work. It makes Furious Retribution a little bit worse. The Inspiring Overseer will help shore that up a bit.
Yeah, you can eat a 1/1 now that we're in Chapter 2.
We got an oops there from
Simon. curious what Greg's
Oh,
going to want to do here. If he wants to actually leave that Elspeth vulnerable, maybe you want to just run out the Wandering Emperor first, put some creatures in play to have more of a defense set up so that your Elspeth can stick.
Wonder if Simon feels that he should have waited till Greg's turn here. See what he targets with the Retribution.
Perhaps keep the Vanishing Verse in hand and not play the underdog.
He could have killed both and kind of blanked the Retribution. Doesn't seem like that big of a deal, though. I don't know.
Huh. So if you play out the Elspeth and you minus, it'll just die to an attack. You could choose to give the Overseer Vigilance. Or just, okay, looks like they're just going for the threat. Oh, and that's a whiff.
Oh, hits
That
lands
is a whiff.
only. That's a tough one. The Inspiring Overseer.
Elspeth down.
Yeah, isn't going to be able to kill the Tenacious Underdog here. It needed to get enough extra power to do so.
Jeez.
And instead it's just going to take out a token, but Elspeth Resplendent is left unguarded here. We're going to see the Tenacious Underdog throw the old right hook at Elspeth, send that Planeswalker to the graveyard. The token gets in for 1. Down to 19 goes Greg Orange. Life total not his primary concern at this point. Boy, that miss was tough.
And now, I mean, Greg's got that Wandering Emperor. Something like a Legion Angel, probably the best possible draw, right? You're kind of out of gas. Need to rebuild.
Yeah, Inspiring Overseer would be okay.
Yeah, chaining those would be nice.
Right. It's tough because, you know, when you look at what Simon's deck can do from this point on, say at the 5 or 6 mana slot, it's really impressive, right? Like he can generate a huge amount of advantage. With Greg, we start getting narrowed down into more specific cards, right? Where we're talking about things like the cards that we just mentioned. And if he doesn't draw those, it starts to get kind of ugly. Wandering Emperor here is nice, though. He can use that to kill the Tenacious Underdog, at least.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so many more ways to get ahead on cards if you're playing the Esper midrange deck, right? Or card selection with cards like the Rafine. And now Simon, I mean, we're looking at a superior board and Simon just having the answers for the next 2 or 3 plays that Greg Orange might have.
Yeah, Wedding Announcement having transformed here is pumping up everything, too. So Wandering Emperor makes a 3-3 instead of a 2-2. And those advantages add up very, very big in spots like this, where now that 3-3 has a clean attack through the Inspiring Overseer, and it just, all these little incremental advantages start to snowball for Simon.
Yeah, we need some big draws from Greg. I'm thinking Emerius Call.
Oh, that's
Legion Angel. No Giadas.
Right now, Simon's trying to decide exactly what it is that he wants to do.
Yeah, I think right now it's the math of, okay, my opponent has 3 cards in hand, they're playing with planes, and they passed. How do I play around the Wandering Emperor?
Right.
That's just always the situation.
That's kind of the default stance, right?
Yeah. Now, Simon does have the Ray, which makes everything a lot easier.
Yeah, that's true. So he's going to end up attacking with everything here, and he has also created a scenario where each of his creatures has 3 toughness. So the Inspiring Overseer doesn't have the ability to trade, at least natively. The Emperor, of course, could change that scenario, but
yeah, I mean, if you're Greg, I probably want to just put the Overseer in front of the underdog, and then try to pump it and kind of force the Ray. Alternatively, you can make a creature to try to have enough threats to get that Wandering Emperor off the battlefield.
Right, and take a huge chunk of damage in the meantime. Boy, lots of pressure here on Greg Orange. Very tough spot.
Yeah, you pump the Overseer, you Iganjo the 3-3, potentially, but of course this is going to just make it all crumble.
break up the party here. Inspiring Overseer is going to get enfeebled. That's going to send it to the graveyard, meaning that the Wandering Emperor did nothing here.
Yeah, interesting that Greg chose to... Ooh! That's a
You
Marius
called
call.
it. There
All
it
right.
is. That's the one we wanted.
Just got to chain those.
Yeah, maybe one more of
gotta chain
those.
those.
Or yeah, you know, there are a few top decks. That was one of them for Greg. We mentioned that one. He could find any number of his sort of mid-range card advantage type spells. But Amiria's call was huge. Now he has 2 4/4 flyers facing down the double 3/3s and the 4/3 underdog. He may be able to stabilize from here. What did Simon find? Another land off the top. Now he does have Meat Hook Massacre as well as Vanishing Verse, plus that Tenacious Underdog in the yard still.
Yeah, and I wonder that sequencing. Now remember, Marius Call does give your creatures indestructible, but I believe they need to be in play. And I think Greg made a token after casting the Amiria's Call.
Yeah, he did, didn't he?
And probably pretty relevant here. I mean, just given what we see on the board here. Although, as that 2/2 would just be a free block on one of these attackers. Now, Simon also just has the option of just resetting the board, right, with the Meat Hook Massacre in play, and be the first one with the creature on the battlefield.
Yeah, I'm curious if that misstep there from Greg opens up the door here for Simon to do something else.
Right, because you can just use Vanishing Verse here to get one of the angels off the battlefield.
Mm-hmm.
And go for a more aggressive attack, as now Greg's that 2/2 is just going to be a chump block if Simon's representing a lethal attack. Right? Because you Vanishing Verse. All right, looks like he's just going for the Wandering Emperor here.
Yeah, that makes sense as well. I mean, the worst are trades for the angels anyway.
Right.
I'll be back.
And he doesn't mind trading off Tenacious Underdogs for those.
All right, another... Oh,
okay. So that was one on the list too.
Get some chaining going here. Legion Angel?
Legion Angel maybe? Oh, he didn't find it this time. Still, he's back up to 10.
Yeah, and these angels are going to be problematic. Is Greg going to split this or just try to get the Wandering Emperor off the battlefield? Or just go for the 2-turn lethal attack, right? That's also an option.
That's right. Down to 14 is Simon Nielsen. I think that Greg recognizes that it's too likely that Simon either draws or has a removal spell of some sort. But if that's the case, he may want to send both of these things at the Wandering Emperor.
Right. Yeah. I mean, Simon has like 12 removal spells that could kill the angels in this spot. So yeah, this makes sense.
He wanted to. He played with the idea, but I think this is the safer line for sure. Because this is the window that you have to get the Wandering Emperor off the battlefield with just one creature.
Yeah.
Right? Like if Wandering Emperor gets up to 5, then you have to start sending a whole lot of stuff over there. And it's also worth noting, these angels don't have vigilance. Like these attacks are costing him valuable blockers. So he really needs to get that Wandering Emperor off the battlefield. Simon says, well, if it's going to die anyway, I'll just let it go. If I am going to use Vanishing Verse, I can wait till end step, which is right now.
Does Simon potentially have a lethal setup here? Now, of course, with the Iganjo in Greg's hand, probably not.
Right.
Right?
So he is going to take the slower route. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, there's an Amiria's Call now for
right
Simon
back
Nielsen.
at you.
Yeah, and that actually would unlock a really nice attack too.
Yeah, I mean, now you don't even have to worry about the Iganjo. This turn, at least. If you wanted to go that direction, you could just play the pathway.
The pathway. Yeah, he could just do it.
He's like, wait. It's like, play Amiria's Call or Lolf. I don't know. I like making my team indestructible and putting 2 5/5s in the air.
Same. Makes your life real easy. Play this and attack with everything. And now all of a sudden, Gregory Orange is facing down a lethal attack. So he's going to have to chump block here. Giada Font of Hope. See, this is not what you wanted to see at this point. And that's going to be a concession here. Simon Nielsen flexes the Esper muscles there. That mid-range card advantage that we saw from them, that was how he got ahead, and that's what won him the game. And Paul, I wouldn't be surprised to see quite a bit of that this weekend.